if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player said it.
Okay.
So
Shyrel Swoopes just couldn't help herself. She's back again, throwing shade at Caitlin Clark, this time in response to her Time magazine interview. This isn't the first time Swoopes has taken a jab at Clark, but her latest remarks about Caitlin's achievements and her popularity have stirred up even more controversy, from questioning Clark's Athlete of the Year win to insinuating that her rise is all about race and media hype.
let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them.
Yeah.
Swoopes seems determined to undermine the star player at every turn. What makes this even more frustrating is how Swoopes dismissed Clark's hard-earned accolades, implying that her success comes from clever marketing rather than raw talent.
Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be, and I don't think it should be.
Shyrel's skepticism didn't stop there. She openly questioned the criteria for the award and even hinted at racial bias as the main factor in Clark's fame. The way she painted Caitlin as a PR-driven product rather than the incredible athlete she is has left fans shaking their heads.
One more thing on Caitlin, which makes her super valuable, is she is leading the WNBA in points generated, which means points scored and or points assisted on. She is leading the league by a significant margin, and she is doing this as a rookie with a Fever team that is not comprised of a bunch of all-stars.
But this goes deeper than just one comment. Caitlin Clark finds herself in a no-win situation. If she acknowledges the racial dynamics in the league, she's accused of pandering. If she doesn't, she's slammed for ignoring the issue altogether. Despite all of this, Caitlin continues to break barriers and elevate women's basketball in a way we've never seen before. So why does Shyrel Swoopes keep tearing her down? Let's break it all down.
Tell me when the last time all these players been in the league all this time. Yes, you name all the prominent players. Tell me the time the WNBA has had this much buzz. I'll wait. Everybody in the chat that y'all was saying, oh, these women been in the league before Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Tell me the time they had this much buzz. Tell me the time they had this many eyes on the draft. Tell me this many times they had watching WNBA preseason games. I'm just waiting. Go ahead, Phil. Go ahead, chat. Take off.
Shyrel Swoopes' reaction to Caitlin Clark's recognition as Time magazine's Athlete of the Year was anything but celebratory. Instead of acknowledging the groundbreaking achievement, Clark being the first WNBA player to ever receive this honor, Swoopes fixated on questioning its legitimacy. Her tone carried a heavy dose of skepticism as she asked whether the award was based on Clark's stellar on-court performance or something else entirely. It's as though Swoopes couldn't bring herself to admit that Caitlin's impact on the game was deserving of such a high-profile accolade.
My question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, or is it more about the impact?
But Swoopes didn't stop there. She pointed to Clark's marketing and media presence, suggesting that her rise to fame had less to do with her basketball skills and more to do with her team's ability to push her image. According to Shyrel, it wasn't just Caitlin's talent, but a well-oiled PR machine that secured her spot as the Athlete of the Year. It was a blatant attempt to downplay what millions of fans already know. Caitlin Clark has redefined how people view women's basketball, both on and off the court. What's striking is how dismissive Swoopes seemed about the significance of this achievement.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie, targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA. She said, no, they're expecting this rookie class to be perfect. This rookie class isn't even one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years.
For years, WNBA players have worked tirelessly to earn mainstream respect and recognition. Caitlin finally breaking through that barrier should have been celebrated as a win for the league as a whole, yet Shyrel turned it into a narrative of division, questioning not just Caitlin, but the very process behind the award. This raises an important question. Why is Swoopes so unwilling to give Caitlin her due credit?
Caitlin Clark, what she's doing doesn't minimize what they've done, but we should have been giving her the credit. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else. Oh, what about the women that laid the foundation? What about this? What about it? That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this.
Her comments also set the stage for a larger conversation about how we evaluate success. Instead of focusing on Caitlyn's record-breaking performances, Swoopes chose to undermine her by questioning motives and fairness. This not only disrespects Caitlyn, but also undermines the strides women's basketball has made. For fans, it's baffling to see a legend like Shyrel Swoopes take such a stance, especially when Caitlyn's achievements should inspire unity and pride in the league. Shyrel's remarks reveal more than just skepticism. They show a reluctance to embrace change. Caitlyn Clark represents a new era of basketball, one where players aren't just athletes but cultural icons. Swoopes' reaction feels like an unnecessary attempt to keep that evolution in check, making it clear she's not ready to pass the torch. But if Shyrel thought her comments would diminish Caitlyn's shine, she couldn't have been more wrong.
My advice to Caitlyn, kind of keep your mouth shut, because everybody is looking for you to say anything and they're going to splice it and cut it and make it a negative thing. The one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in.
One of the most polarizing narratives surrounding Caitlyn Clark's rise is the claim that her popularity stems from her whiteness rather than her skills. Shyrel Swoopes alluded to this indirectly in her comments, and it's a sentiment that continues to surface among some critics. The argument goes like this: Caitlyn's fame is amplified because she is white, in contrast to the black athletes in the WNBA who don't receive the same level of attention. This rhetoric has added an uncomfortable racial undertone to what should simply be a celebration of an extraordinary player. Critics like Swoopes seem to ignore the obvious. Caitlyn Clark's rise isn't about her race. It's about her undeniable ability to perform under pressure and captivate audiences. Her clutch performances, deep three-pointers, and playmaking skills have brought fans into arenas and drawn national attention to a league that has long struggled for mainstream relevance. It's not her whiteness that's selling out games. It's the fact that Caitlyn Clark is a generational talent who plays the game with unmatched passion and energy.
There is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlyn Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlyn Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
Still, these racial arguments refuse to go away, fueled by those who claim Caitlyn benefits from systemic bias. Even Caitlyn herself has tried to address this narrative, acknowledging that her position as a white athlete in a predominantly black league does come with certain privileges. However, no matter what she says, her words are met with criticism. When she acknowledges privilege, critics like Gilbert Arenas dismiss it as her just saying the right thing to stay politically correct. When she doesn't address it, she's accused of ignoring racial inequities altogether. This constant scrutiny puts Caitlyn in a no-win situation. Damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. What's particularly troubling is how these racial debates overshadow what Caitlyn Clark has accomplished for women's basketball. Before Caitlyn, casual sports fans rarely tuned in to watch women's games.
The biggest reason that she's popular is it's the Steph Curry syndrome. She looks a lot like the girl who's out shooting hoops next door, and she plays like we are all capable of playing,
let alone followed players with such fervor. Her presence on the court has bridged a gap between die-hard basketball fans and those who barely paid attention to the sport. She's drawn in viewers who didn't care about the WNBA, not because of her skin color, but because she's electric to watch. Her talent transcends the game, making her an ambassador for a sport that has long needed a figure like her.
What Caitlyn Clark does is kind of simple, really. She shows up at games, she signs autographs, she talks to little girls wearing jerseys, she smiles to the crowd, and then here's the most important thing. She competes like a maniac. I mean like a maniac.
Instead of celebrating this progress, critics focus on tearing Caitlyn down with divisive narratives. It's as if her popularity threatens the status quo, making some uncomfortable with the fact that a white player is now the face of the WNBA's growth. Shyrel Swoopes' comments feed into this divisive rhetoric, amplifying the idea that Caitlyn's success isn't earned but given. This perspective not only diminishes Caitlyn's achievements, but also disregards the strides she's made in pushing the league forward. By dragging race into the discussion, critics risk alienating fans and players who are just beginning to invest in the WNBA. Caitlyn's impact isn't about one racial group or another. It's about bringing women's basketball into the mainstream spotlight. To see her reduced to a symbol of racial tension rather than celebrated as the phenomenal athlete she is does a disservice to her, the league, and the fans who've rallied behind her.
Caitlyn is the face right now, and that's also good. Like, she's selling out gyms, of course. Like, why would you hate against that?
We saw dirty play after dirty play on Caitlyn Clark, and still, she just handled every single situation with the highest levels of dignity.
Caitlyn Clark is stuck in a frustrating and unfair predicament. No matter what she says or does, she faces criticism. Shyrel Swoopes' latest remarks only emphasize this impossible situation. When Caitlyn openly acknowledged her privilege as a white athlete, she was accused of pandering, with critics like Gilbert Arenas rolling their eyes and dismissing her statement as a mere PR move. On the flip side, if Caitlyn had chosen to remain silent, she would undoubtedly be labeled as ignorant or insensitive to the racial dynamics within the WNBA. It's a lose-lose situation that forces her into a corner where there's no right move. This catch-22 highlights the immense pressure Caitlyn faces as not just a basketball player, but a symbol of women's sports. She's expected to carry the weight of the league's racial tensions on her shoulders while simultaneously breaking records and elevating the game. Imagine being at the peak of your athletic career, celebrated for your unmatched talent, yet constantly dragged into debates that diminish those accomplishments. For Caitlyn, the scrutiny never stops, and every move she makes is analyzed through a lens that no other athlete in the league seems to face.
One thing Caitlyn Clark does maybe better than anybody in sports right now, makes it about others, makes it about team. Think about it. When's the last time you didn't see Caitlyn Clark talking about a teammate? When's the last time you saw Caitlyn Clark talking about herself or any of the accomplishments that she has had? Let me give you the answer to that. Never! Never! You never hear that. Now, that's why their team has gotten good. She could have been an egomaniac. Everybody in the league knows that she is the league. But every time you see something relative to Angel Reese, what's it about? It's about her. It's not about her team. It's about her. One makes it about her, the other makes it about us.
The frustrating reality is that Caitlyn Clark didn't ask to be a lightning rod for these issues. Her focus has always been on basketball, leading her team, breaking records, and inspiring the next generation of players. Yet she's been thrust into a position where she's forced to navigate complex societal narratives simply because of her success. And let's not forget, she's doing this in an environment where veteran players like Shyrel Swoopes openly cast doubt on her achievements. Instead of mentoring and uplifting a rising star, Swoopes has positioned herself as a vocal critic, amplifying the divide rather than bridging it. What makes this situation even more aggravating is the hypocrisy surrounding these criticisms. When other players, particularly black athletes like Angel Reese or Aja Wilson, take bold stances, they are often praised for speaking their truth or breaking barriers. Yet, when Caitlyn attempts to address similar issues, she's met with skepticism or outright dismissal. The double standard is glaring. Caitlyn is held to a different, almost impossible standard where her words are never good enough and her actions are always questioned.
The WNBA tried to capitalize on her popularity and crammed a lot of games in over a short amount of time, playing against the best teams in the WNBA.
Despite this relentless scrutiny, Caitlyn Clark continues to shine. She's not just playing the game, she's revolutionizing it. Her performances have brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball, attracting fans from all walks of life and proving that the WNBA can command the same level of passion and excitement as any men's league. Her ability to rise above the noise and let her game speak for itself is a testament to her resilience and focus. While critics like Shyrel Swoopes try to tear her down, Caitlyn only grows stronger, showing the world why she's not just the face of women's basketball, but one of the greatest athletes of her generation. What Shyrel and other critics fail to see is that Caitlyn Clark's impact goes far beyond the court. She's a unifier, a trailblazer, and an icon for millions of fans who see her as proof that women's sports deserve the spotlight. Whether she's dropping 40-point games or addressing uncomfortable topics, Caitlyn is paving the way for future generations of players who will no longer have to endure the same level of scrutiny. Her success isn't just hers, it's a victory for the entire sport, even if some, like Shyrel Swoopes, refuse to acknowledge it.
Caitlyn Clark is the only player in the history of the WNBA to achieve those numbers or better. She dominates. She dominates the ball, dominates the other team's thought, dominates her own team's thought, dominates the crowd, dominates the entire area of the arena.
Caitlin Clark's journey isn't just about basketball. It's about breaking barriers and navigating challenges that go far beyond the game. While legends like Shyrel Swoopes continue to question and criticize her achievements, Caitlin keeps doing what she does best, dominating on the court and inspiring a new era for women's sports. The reality is, no amount of skepticism or shade can erase the fact that Caitlin has earned her place in history, whether it's through her jaw-dropping performances or her ability to handle criticism with grace. She's proven time and again why she's one of the most influential athletes of our time.
Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days what would have taken 5 years.
Caitlin Clark's story is more than just a tale of athletic excellence. It's a blueprint for the future of women's sports. From her record-breaking performances to her unwavering commitment to empowering others, Caitlin has become a force of nature. Her journey, filled with triumphs and setbacks, demonstrates that greatness isn't just about talent. It's about resilience, vision, and the courage to challenge the status quo. She's not only redefining what it means to be a star in women's basketball, but also laying the foundation for generations to come. Her promises to elevate women's sports are more than words. They're a call to action. Caitlin has shown that when given the platform, women's sports can captivate audiences, inspire millions, and generate a level of excitement that rivals any other sport. But she's also made it clear that this momentum requires continued investment and support. Her message to the WNBA and the sports world at large is simple. The time to act is now. The visibility, the growth, and the opportunity are all there. It's up to the industry to match the energy Caitlin brings every time she steps on the court. What makes Caitlin's impact so profound is her authenticity. She doesn't shy away from the tough conversations, whether it's addressing criticism, acknowledging privilege, or advocating for equality. Caitlin's ability to navigate these challenges with grace and honesty has only strengthened her connection with fans and cemented her role as a leader. She's not afraid to stand up for what she believes in, even when it means facing backlash. That courage, combined with her undeniable talent, is what makes her unstoppable. As Caitlin continues to rise, her influence extends far beyond the hardwood. She's a symbol of hope for young athletes, a role model for aspiring leaders, and a reminder that change is possible when you refuse to settle for less. Her vision for women's sports isn't just about selling out arenas or breaking TV ratings. It's about creating a world where every girl who dreams of greatness has the chance to achieve it. Caitlin's story is proof that those dreams are worth chasing, and her actions are paving the way for others to follow. If you're ready to dive into the latest and greatest moments in women's basketball, you're in the right place. Here on WNBA Original, we cover everything from breaking news to inspiring stories, bringing you closer to the action and the players who make it all happen. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, so you'll always be the first to know what's happening on and off the court. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more from WNBA Original.